Are you thinking of changing your dog or cat's diet to the BARF diet, but are afraid of doing something wrong? In this complete 35-minute video, you will learn how to make a safe transition to BARF with practical guidelines, fundamental steps, the most common mistakes and the reactions you can expect in your pet's body during the first few days. More than a step-by-step, here you will find real stories of transformation, such as that of Bento, a bulldog who rediscovered the joy of living after years with the wrong diet. If you love your pet and want the best for its health, this video is for you. Watch until the end and see how everything changes when food starts to respect nature. Subscribe to the channel and activate the bell so you don't miss any content about natural food, health and well-being for dogs and cats. In an increasingly food-conscious world, many dog and cat owners are rethinking what they put in their companion's jar. And among all the possible options, one word has been gaining strength and arousing both curiosity and fear: BARF. The acronym may seem technical at first glance, but behind it, there is a simple and powerful concept: feeding your animal raw, fresh, live food, respecting its biology. The transition, however, is not just about swapping feed for meat. It's a journey, a profound change that involves the body, behavior, and above all, the bond between tutor and animal. And that is why, first of all, it is necessary to make this transition safely. No stress, no trauma. And with the understanding that each organism, as well as each story, is unique. Veterinarian Juliana, who has been treating dogs with chronic digestive problems for more than 15 years, remembers one case in particular: Bento, a French bulldog who arrived at the office with frequent vomiting, hair loss and a tired look. The tutor, Rogerio, had already changed brands of food 5 times in less than 6 months, but none of them seemed to work. The tests showed no serious changes, but the animal's body screamed for something different. That was when, in an unpretentious conversation about natural food, Juliana mentioned BARF. Rogerio's look was immediate. "But I'm afraid. What if it gets worse?" This fear is more common than you might think. After all, the idea of abandoning years, sometimes decades, of industrialized food is not simple. There is comfort in the routine of the feed, in the practicality of the packaging, in the promise of the nutritional tables. But there is also a silence, the silence of the small signs that the animal's body gives every day, the pasty poop that has always been like this, the strong breath that is normal, the insistent itching that has no explanation. Most of the time, these symptoms are ignored, until they become chronic. Or until someone asks the right question: what if the problem isn't the dog? What if it's what he eats? In the case of Bento, the transition to BARF was made in stages. The first 3 days were just bone broth with minimal pieces of ground beef. Then, little by little, came the firmer cuts, the organs, the crushed vegetables. In less than 2 weeks, the poop changed completely, firm, small, with no strong odor. The itching stopped, the vomit disappeared, and Bento's gaze came to life. The same energy that seemed to be extinguished reappeared with intensity. Rogerio moved, confessed, "I thought he was a sad dog, but he was only poorly fed." This story is no exception. It is a faithful portrayal of what happens when we respect the animal's physiology, and therefore the first step in the transition to BARF is to understand why. Why change? Why now? Why this path and not another? And above all, why do it responsibly? The basis of BARF is simple: raw meats with bones, offal, vegetables, and in some cases, fruits. But practical application requires care. The first big mistake many make is wanting to do everything at once. Putting raw meat on the plate the day after the last package of food can be a brutal shock to the animal's body. After all, his body has been digesting an ultra-processed food for years, full of carbohydrates, preservatives, dyes, and additives. Changing everything abruptly can cause diarrhea, vomiting, apathy, and food refusal. Therefore, the adaptation phase must be gradual, with a transition period that respects the time of each animal. Another common mistake is to think that any meat will do. It doesn't work. Just as the feed is formulated to be complete, BARF needs the correct proportion between the ingredients. A diet with only muscle, for example, can lead to severe nutritional deficiencies. An excess of bones can cause constipation and even obstruction. Therefore, it is essential to have the monitoring of a veterinary nutritionist or follow reliable protocols based on the weight, age, and health conditions of the animal. The body's reactions during the transition are also variable. Some animals show renewed energy within a few days. Others go through a detox phase with increased hair loss, prolonged sleep, or a change in body odor. This is expected. The body is adjusting, eliminating accumulated toxins and reorganizing the intestinal flora. During this phase, it is important to maintain hydration, observe behavior, and record everything. What you ate, how you reacted, how your stool was. This food diary will be essential to adjust the diet, correct possible imbalances, and understand what works best for each animal. On the emotional side, the change is also felt. Many tutors report that their pets are more connected, attentive, even more affectionate. This is not an illusion. Live food directly affects the gut-brain axis, which is responsible for regulating mood, energy, and even the way the animal interacts with the environment. A dog or cat fed real food doesn't just live better, it feels more. And that translates into deeper bonds, richer interactions, and a daily life with less stress for everyone. But what about those who are afraid? Those who look at a piece of raw meat and think about bacteria, contamination, risks? The fear is legitimate, but it needs to be polite. Recent studies show that with good hygiene practices, the risk of contamination is practically non-existent. The meat used for BARF must be fresh, stored correctly, and handled with the same rules we follow for our own food. Freezing for 72 hours, for example, eliminates a good part of the parasites. The correct cleaning of utensils, the separation of boards, and attention to the defrosting temperature are simple precautions that guarantee total safety. The safe transition, therefore, begins with knowledge, but it is sustained by listening. Listen to the animal's body. Watch for the signs. Be present, because feeding is more than nurturing. It's caring. It is respect. It is to love with conscious choices. And perhaps the great transformation is not only in the plate, but in the look, in the way we come to see that being who depends on us every day to live with health, dignity, and truth. This journey is not perfect. There will be doubts, adjustments, maybe even a step or two back. But every small advance is worth it. Because when the body responds, when behavior changes, when energy returns, the owner discovers that the animal he thought he knew still had much more to show. And it all started with a decision,